Hello, I am Tiffany Marley, the Project Director for the Community Action Partnerships Learning Communities Resource Center, and welcome to our Rural Impact Technology Clinic. We are going to cover a series of important topics today to enhance our virtual learning community experience. As the Rural Impact Demonstration Project, we meet quite a bit in virtual space for our monthly meetings. Additionally, there's a need for us to share information across the various sites and also within your local community. And so today's webinar will provide a quick hands-on tutorial on the Webex technology, which is the technology we use for our meetings each month at Rural Impact. Additionally, we will provide a brief overview of Basecamp, which is a virtual project management tool that we use within the project to share information with all of the participating sites, but Basecamp is also a tool that is available for each individual demonstration site to share information with members of your community and members of your staff. And so, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce members of our staff who are participating in today's webinar. I have with me my colleague Sanji Johnson, also Natalie Kramer, and Cashin Yu. And in particular, Cashin is going to provide us with an overview of our Webex platform, and Sanji is going to provide an overview of Basecamp. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and jump right in, and I'm going to pass the baton over to my colleague, Cashin. Cashin.
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Tiffany. So, yeah, we're going to start out with just a couple of minutes on Webex. You've already started to experiment with it on a couple of different web meetings and webinars that we've had to date, but just to give you a few tips on what we are going to be doing. So, step one, and I'm going to go ahead and warn you all that I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record because I've got 2 or 3 points that I'm going to say over and over again. But the first of those is that you will want to start any web meeting by going to your email and starting with your web link. So that's exactly what we'll do. We're going to try to walk through joining a web meeting so that you will be able to fully participate going forward. So again, you want to start from your email, Outlook, however you have the call-in information, and start with that web link. So join WebEx meeting, and it will go ahead and start up. You will be asked to put in your name and your email address. So we'll go ahead and type those in and click the join button. Now, it's very important that you do start with that web link for what I'm just about to show you here. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do is put in the audio information. So there are a couple of different options here. You have I will call in as well as call using computer. So I will call in is actually probably our preferred method. It is usually the clearest form of audio. However, it does require that you use 3 different numbers, and I'll show those to you in just one moment. Your other option, call using your computer, means that you're going to use voice over internet, so you're going to use voice. You must have a microphone and speakers already set up on whatever device you're accessing it from. You don't have to worry about all of the different numbers in that case. However, like I said, you do have to make sure that your mic and speakers are set up, and unless you have a really good headset, it doesn't tend to be quite as clear. So I'm going to do this I will call in. Okay, and you'll notice up here that there are 3 different numbers. Okay, the first is the phone number. The second is your access code or meeting number. That helps you get into the correct kind of conference room if you want to think of it that way. And last but definitely not least is your attendee ID. It can be anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 numbers, but what it does is it ties your web presence to your audio line. That tells us that this particular phone line belongs with this particular person. So I've had my colleagues go ahead and get our audio in here. And one thing that I do want to show you here is demonstration. That's who I just logged in as. Notice that I now have a phone next to my name. That's how I know that I came in correctly, because those are tied together on that same line. If you did use the we'll call in using my computer method, then it shows up just like a headset. So either way, you're going to want to look to make sure that once you get your audio, that you do have a little icon next to your name, either that phone or that headset. A couple of things that I do want to show also on that line where your name is. All the way to the right here, you have a mute button. So it is gray right now, meaning that I am not muted on Webex. You can mute yourself in our meeting format by just clicking on it, and it will turn red. The other piece right in here is a camera icon. So let's see if it will allow me to do it. It doesn't usually like to do this, but you can start your video. Now, when you're looking here, you'll notice that the camera icon has now turned green. That means that I am putting forth my video, okay? So anytime that I'm speaking, the audio is going to follow that camera line, and anytime you're speaking, we'll get to see you. I know it's virtual. It's sometimes difficult to really connect with your people, but I do think that using your camera is a big help. So, and one last little tip there on your video. Again, we do appreciate anybody that does turn it on, but not only turning it on, but making effort to actually look at your camera. We've seen several people that they do get their camera up and running and all that, but they've set their laptop on the back desk and we're looking at the back of their head, or they have a whole big group of people and only one of them can be seen or something like that, as well as some people that are looking down at notes or looking at their computer instead of at the webcam. So do try to make an effort to look at the webcam itself. And the last little button here that I want to point out right next to your name is a little hand button. And that means that you can raise your hand. You'll notice it turns kind of blue if you do so. And what that does is it lets us know, as the hosts of the meeting, that you would like to be acknowledged. So you can raise your hand. We'll say, demonstration, I see you have your hand up. What would you like to add? We'll make sure that you are muted and unmuted. And then you can ask your question or say your comment. You can always lower your hand when you're either done with that comment or question, or if you've changed your mind, maybe the conversation has moved on. So my colleagues there have actually done my next big step that I wanted to show you, which is, you notice that I no longer have this phone icon next to my name. We're going to do a little exercise just to make sure that you can troubleshoot yourself a little bit as you come in through the audio, because it is important that you do get in through the audio correctly to be able to be unmuted using that raise your hand feature, as well as being able to follow your video. So now you've noticed that I no longer have that phone icon next to my name, but now all of a sudden we have this call-in user 2 that has popped up. What that means is that they either did not use all 3 numbers or did not get that attendee ID in correctly. So if you get into the web meeting and you see that this is in fact you, then there is a couple of different options that you can do to get your web meeting information, because remember that last attendee ID that is so important does not show up in any of your emails or reminders. It only shows up on screen. So a couple of different ways you can get that. You can go over to the meeting information tab, or go up to audio and audio connection, where you'll get those same choices to I will call in and get those access numbers, or you can do the call using computer just like we were. One last thing I want to point out before we change over to Basecamp. There's several different ways that you can participate. Of course, we just talked about the raising your hand and how important it is to have that audio connection there with all three numbers so that you can be muted and unmuted and so that we'll be able to see you on camera. The other piece is that you can use the chat window to contact us. So if you have a technical issue, you'll notice that it automatically goes to whoever the host or presenter is. But there's also a choice for everyone, or if we had more people on this particular web meeting, you would be able to select a specific person. But I would encourage you to select everyone. That way you can have the conversation go out to the entire group and everybody can see your contribution or your question. So with that, that's how we're going to go through all of our web meetings. And what I'm going to do now is hand it over to Sanji Dawson-Johnson, also here on our partnership team, so that she can talk us through Basecamp. So Basecamp is where you're going to continue that conversation after or in between your web meetings. So with that, I'm going to hand it on over, and Sanji, take it away.
Thank you, Cashin. Thank you so much. Well, now this portion of the Tech Clinic will be devoted to Basecamp. I'm going to do a walkthrough of using the components and functionality of Basecamp. So let me go online right here. Okay. And here is Basecamp. So I will sign in. And this is how you get started. After you type in basecamp.com, it should take you to this page. You sign in, like so. Then type in your password. And it takes you to the first page. And depending on how many projects that you are on or working across, you should be able to just click on the first one. It's usually the first one that is your most active page. So click on Basecamp 2, BC2, right here. And here we are on the home page of Basecamp. Now, like I said just a moment ago, depending on how many projects that you're working across, it will dictate as to how many folders you see on this particular site. Right here to your left, it's showing it, or the folders are displayed in the grid format. If you click on the next icon, it will display all of your folders in a list form. You click on the third icon, same thing, it will display your folders in the list form, but in a group setting. So that's just a little point for you to be aware of. So we're going to go back to the grid. And I created, for today's practice, I created a dummy folder, and I named it Find It. It's a test folder, basically. So the test folder that I'm going to be in today is the exact same folder that you will have on Basecamp. There's nothing different between your particular folder and then the test folder that we're going to be in. But for right now, I'm just going to move to one of our particular folders. Let's say the rural impact, I think it's off-site, just to give you a bird's-eye view of what some of the features are in Basecamp. So in this particular folder, rural impact off-site, you see here the latest project updates. And anything that has been done on your project, you would see at a glance under project updates. So if there's been any changes, any uploads, that's right there, and it gives you the time of the activities that was made to your particular folder. Right below it, you would see any discussions that has taken place regarding this particular project, as well as any files, like I said, that has been uploaded to your particular folder. So I'm going to go back to Basecamp, and then I'm going to start in the test folder that I named Finding. Okay, so in this test folder, you're going to see 5 icons. Discussion, you're going to have a discussion tab, you're going to have a to-do list, you're going to have a file tab, a text document, and the event. So by the end of this project, you're going to be quite proficient in knowing how to use all 5 functions. Now, some you may use more than others, but you at least have an idea of how to use and the functionality of what goes on in each of these particular tabs. Before we get started, let me just direct your attention to the very top of the screen. You see running across the top of the screen, there's a tab that says Project, Calendar, Everything, Progress, Everyone, and Me. Just for 60 seconds, I want to just show you what's in each one of those particular tabs. Project, which just shows you all of the projects on Basecamp that you are affiliated with. The calendar is self-explanatory. It's the calendar of events that you put in, that members of your team have put in, or others that are assigned to your group have put in. And we're going to talk more about the calendar, and I'm going to demonstrate how to input information for your calendar. Then there's a tab that's called Everything. Everything is just basically a snapshot view of the 5 tabs that I just talked about, your discussion tab, your to-do list, your file, your text document, and then your calendar event. And then you have the Progress tab. The Progress, again, is another way to help you have a quick, at-a-glance view of everything that's going on in your project related to real-time purposes. So it gives you a timeline, like today, December 16th. It tells you for this particular folder what has been posted, so on and so forth. So all of the folders will give you a timeline if you click on Progress. And then you have your Everyone folder. It's just a list of everyone that's in your group, that are in your group. Some of the circles you see that has pictures, those are individuals that don't mind showing their pictures. Others, for one reason or another, chose not to show their pictures. But these are basically just everyone that's in your particular group. And then you have your own Me folder. It gives you information about your particular specific project. So just wanted to alert you to that. So now we're going to get started with the actual demonstration. So the first tab is your discussion tab. Your discussion tab, think of it this way. It's like your giant email, so to speak, but it works a little bit, I think, better than email in Outlook. It allows you to communicate with members of your team in a very impactful way. It allows for you to plan projects and know what everyone is doing. And it has a way of organizing all of the communications around your project, which is a little different than Outlook email. In Outlook email, say for instance, if you're talking or planning a project about how to bake a cake, that email will get buried on top of other emails in Outlook. Whereas if you're in Basecamp, everything about how to bake a cake is right there in a succinct fashion. So that way, I think Basecamp was really, really smart to include that particular feature under the discussion tab. So I'm going to click on the discussion tab. So basically, you click on the discussion tab, and then you have to give your discussion a title. So the title could be anything. The title could be, oh, I'm sorry. How did I do it? What did I do wrong? Okay. Okay. That's a little technical glitch. So in your discussion tab, just type a title. Let's say party. That's your title, okay? And then right below it, you have a format bar. And below that is your actual text box. That's where you input any information. You can post a question, you can ask a question, post a comment, what have you. So let's just type hi. And after you post your, after you state your question or ask a comment or whatever, Then there's a method in which if there's a document that you want to share with members of your group, you can do it one of two ways. You can click on this little hyperlink that says select files from your computer, or you can do it from your Google Docs. I'm going to walk through as to how to upload a file in just a few minutes, but that's where you can also upload your information right here under the discussion tab. So after you've posted your comment or asked your question for whatever reason, there's 3 different ways that you can post the information. Now, understand this, before we go any further, after you type your text, your default button is going to automatically route to everybody in your group. You don't have to send it to everyone in your group. You can send it one of 3 ways. You can send it to your default button, which is to everybody in your group, or you can select the second option, which is let me choose who you want to send it to, because whatever you post, and you may not want everyone in your group to see it. You may just want certain individuals. So if you want certain individuals, you would click on let me choose who to send the email to. Right here, I have Tiffany. Tiffany Marley is in my group, so her name is automatically checked. Let's say you have someone who's not part of Basecamp, who's not in your group on your project, but you want this person to have the same information, and you want to be able to share it. So there's a way that you can send that information to that person outside of your group. Right here, there's a hyperlink that says loop in someone who isn't on the project. So you click on that button, and you type the person name. Now, if the person is a member of Basecamp, then he or she will be in the group. It will automatically be in that directory. If the person is not a member of the Basecamp, then you will have to type the full email address. So I'm going to type my colleague's name, Natalie, who I know is in Basecamp. So I can just start by typing a portion of her name, and it should come up. Okay, here we go. So I typed in Natalie's name, which means Natalie, who's not part of Basecamp in terms of on this project, will also receive the information that I'm about to post. But understand this again, Natalie would not have the privilege of seeing all of the communication in the discussion tab. She will only see the communication thread for this particular post that I'm about to send. So that's another nice feature, because everyone that's not on your group that you would also like to have information sent to, they will be able to access and keep up to date with the information that's going on without having the right of all of the functions in your particular folder. And then the third option of sending the information is you don't want to send it to anyone in particular, you just want to post your comment. That's the third option. So just to recap, the 3 options is you send it to everyone in your group, you send it to selected individuals, or you send it to no one, but those individuals that you send it, not sending it to anyone particular, would still be able to see your information at their leisure. And then you just click on post this message. And here's the message right here, which is party, and I spelled party wrong. And from this particular site right here, you can start a discussion. So if I want to start a discussion on party, I may type in what time is the event. And that's my discussion started. So the title of the discussion is party, and I started the discussion around the actual post, which is party. What time is the event? So that's one of the ways that you can use the discussion tab. The next feature is your to-do list. Your to-do list serves more or less as a punch list. It's a way for you to plan events or plan whatever you're working on in terms of your project for a collective planning purposes. It also will allow you to see all of the moving parts and keep track of who's doing what. I think that's a very, very helpful feature, especially with a lot of the complex projects that you may be working on. You would want to know who's doing what and when is the deadline for that deliverable to be met. So that your to-do list, it will be helpful in that way. So your to-do list, you type in a title to get started. See? Okay. Let's just do meetings. And you start your to-do list, whatever your to-do list. Go shopping, return pick up kit, so on and so forth. So as you're creating your punch list, you can assign those various tasks to different individuals within your group by clicking on the Assign button. You click on the drop-down arrow, and you can assign that particular task to someone and the due date in which that task needs to be completed. So the to-do list obviously will help you stay abreast and know what's going on with this particular project. And let me just point out this, for each of these particular tabs, there's a 60 to 90-second video right here that you can watch. So if you forget how to use a particular function, it's very, very quick. It will give you like a 60 or 90-second overview of what that particular tab feature and the functionality of using. So in this walkthrough clinic, if there's something you forget or at a later date you review, and you're in the Basecamp and you want to know how to do X, Y, Z, click on any of these videos and it will refresh your memory as to what needs to happen or how to use that particular tab. Okay, so going back to the, let me see. Okay, I need to get back to mine. Okay. Here's your file button. Your file is a way to share documents with members of your team. You can do it one of two ways. Like I said, you can pull directly from your desktop, a file from your desktop, or you can go to Google Docs. Let's say you want to pull and share the file with your team and it's on your desktop. You click on Select from my computer. I have it on my desktop. And I pull the particular file that I want to share. Okay. And I hit open. And as you see, it's attached to the file tab. So that way, anyone in your group can access the information and see what it is that you just uploaded to your particular project. And the last tab would be the text document. Your text document serves as a whiteboard. It really allows brainstorming that you can do with your team members. Everyone can work on this one particular document in real time. So say, for instance, you're working on a document, and you give it a name, and then you just start typing, okay? You start typing, and then you want to send it to the rest of your team. You hit the Save button, and it saves it. Now, someone else on your team can come in, because this is a brainstorming session, and you're using it as a whiteboard or whatever, or you're needing feedback from your team members, they can come in, and they can edit this particular document. That's very cool. And it will save the new changes in real time. So if I need to get back in as the original writer of this particular document, it will alert me that changes have been made, edits have been made to this document, and it will allow me to see what changes have occurred and whether to accept the changes or not. And then the final tool you will use is the calendar. The calendar is very simple. You click on a particular date, you indicate what the event is, you give it a date, you email it to a particular individual or everyone in your group, and you just post the event. And it lands right there on the calendar. So that way you can keep track of meetings, you can keep track of any particular event or task that you want the group to be aware of and the due date. That really explains Basecamp in a very short manner, but if there's any questions or comments or additional information, like I said, They have the 60 to 90-second video for all 5 components of Basecamp that you can familiarize yourself with and get started with using Basecamp in a real meaningful and impactful way.
Thank you very much, Sanji. So are there questions that anyone has about what has been shared today? Well, if there are no questions, we thank you for joining today's technology clinic, and there will be some follow-up information that we will upload in Basecamp that can be your desk reference to both Basecamp and Webex. And of course, if there are any questions that you have related to either of these technological platforms, which are very important for our engagement as the virtual Rural Impact demonstration project, then feel free to reach out to any one of us on the partnership team. My name is Tiffany Marley again, and my email address is tmarley@actionpartnership.com. Thank you again, and have a great day.
See you on a web meeting soon.
Yes.